Welcome everyone to the Saturday Warhammer War Room stream. And I have a very special guest here today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Zardoz. I have a hobby blog. I paint things once in a while. I write articles about other stuff. It's been an interesting couple of months.
Yes. You have a lot of projects that are going on seemingly all at once, all the time.
It's good to stay busy.
For sure. Hello, Janelle and Rabid Wombat, you couch, everybody coming in. Nice to see you on this Saturday. Hopefully everybody is off to a good start to your weekend. It's an exciting day. We're gonna do some Warhammer chatting, and then we have trivia tonight.
I would love to be at trivia, but I have a game that runs about the same time, so I will have to miss this one.
Well, hey, look, doing your games is also super fun and important.
Yes.
Okay, so Zardoz, I know we have you for a slightly limited time today, so let's jump right into it.
Sure.
Yeah, as Rabid Wombat says, glad you got things pre-ordered. So we could start out talking about Cursed City.
Pre-order, you say? That was a very narrow window to get that pre-ordered if you were going to order it today.
Yeah, so if you've been following along, and we've been talking about this for the last month or so, Games Workshop has been previewing this amazing new game, this boxed game set in the Age of Sigmar universe. Really cool thing called Cursed City. And if you didn't wake up really early this morning and get in your pre-order, well,
it was sold out with it when I checked it at 12:34, when it went live at noon.
Yeah. So maybe now there are allocations for independent stores. So if you have a local game or comic book shop that gets Games Workshop product, maybe you had a deal with one of those, or maybe they still have some available for pre-order. But otherwise, going through official Games Workshop, you are out of luck.
Yeah, I was surprised at the price point because I was expecting $210 because that's what similar things that in British pounds were being priced at in that ballpark. Came in under 200, which I think was the Rubicon of prices that they're willing to try and sell stuff in America for.
Yeah, there's always that question of like you look at value in a set versus those price points, and there definitely are, right? There's $100 is like, okay, if you can keep it under 100, that's really good, because the what is it? It's there's a name for it. It's the chart though. It's like at every increment you lose like 25% of people just by looking at the price. It's some weird thing like that. But like $100 and then $150 and then $200. So yeah, anytime it can be under one of those.
Yeah, anytime you can skirt that price point, you'll draw more customers.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not a great set because it is a lovely looking game. It's 60 miniatures. It's a complete board game experience. The most recent one of these we played, which was that Wombat and I played, was Blackstone Fortress, and it took us an entire year to finish with just the two of us playing once a week, 2 or 3 games a day.
Yeah, so a lot of content, a lot of replayability depending on how you do it, and plus you can use those minis in your Age of Sigmar games, in theory somehow. So
I would imagine they all have war scrolls and other things for that.
Yeah,
I think I saw that on something I was watching, and all the undead miniatures look like they fit into the Soul Blight Overlord set that's supposed to release soon. Yeah,
soon. Everything is soon. All right, Rabid Wombat got it pre-ordered, so that's good. That's all that's important.
Well,
so we can all play with the Wombat.
Yep.
So let's see. So let's pop this up here. So real quick, we'll go over some of the big important news. Every month there's a free miniature that you can get if you go into a Warhammer store, and then a free coin that you can earn by spending your hard-earned money. So the latest one,
coins.
Yeah, you can get a pink horror for free. And again, go ahead.
I have 80 of those.
Well, you can make it 81 if you go to a store right now. And this is out of a multi-part kit, so you never know exactly which one you're going to get. But you can get a pink horror if you want, and they are super annoying in games if you'd like to start a Chaos Demon army.
They are very, very fun to play with.
And then the new coin is a Be'lakor specific Chaos coin. It's cool. You got to spend $100 in order to earn this free coin. But
So you get 2 of them if you order Cursed City.
I know. I'm sure Games Workshop limits it to 1 per person in some way or another.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to people who are continuing to join us.
Hello, everyone.
So that's those are the new in-store freebies / promotions that are going on right now. On the Games Workshop community site, they share a lot of interesting things, and I wanted to point this out because occasionally they'll highlight a specific hobbyist, and that person will get to show off his or her army or specific miniature. And so when they talk about some of the Horus Heresy stuff, the models are a little bit different. There are a lot of specific things for that game, and so there's actually this is Heresy, right? Yeah. Okay.
That giveaway.
Yeah, that's true. So this is somebody's army, and it's amazing. Now this person does work for Forge World, so it's it's more in-house than just a fan, but it's so cool seeing projects like this.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the amount of detail, and the paint jobs are not. They're straightforward, you might say, because again, like it's black and whatever metal color this is, but it's so well done, and it's so it's the details are so crisp. It's fantastic. I love looking at all this stuff.
There are people who will tell you that black is an easy color to paint, like white is an easy color to paint. Black is not easy to paint because black is flat, and you have to accentuate it correctly in order to get it to shine, to get it to pop, to get it to look the way you want it to.
Yeah.
And people who can do this with black or any of the basic base colors, absolutely amazing artists.
Yeah, and picking just the right colors for all that edge highlighting is an entire skill unto itself.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, these are so cool. And then the heat weathering on the gun.
Yeah, the people who do heat treatments are some of my favorite artists that I've seen. It's like I have no idea even how you would start doing that.
Yeah, and and we talk about the arguments and the controversies that people get into. Like with Star Trek spaceships, like what color should the Enterprise be? Things like that. If you're not familiar, you should see the arguments people get into over the heat and how heat would affect the barrels of a gun.
Oh, I imagine.
There's so many insane discussions of which way the color should go, where is the hottest point of the barrel. It's insane. Trying to find real world examples of this kind of stuff. Just paint it so it looks cool. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Remember, everybody, these are your models. Paint them however you like.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you're happy with the way they look, they're yours. You paid money for them.
Yeah, and we're dealing with all the esoteric technologies and whatever. Just do what you want. It's so stupid. Hey, Tiny Chris, welcome to everybody who's joining us. There is a new video game coming. I mean, there are always 1,000 new video games coming, but this one, you get a dog, and you can pet your dog.
Well,
so this is a
aspect of the game.
Well, I mean, so this is whoa, that's loud in my ears. So this is a Necromunda game. So again, you're down in the depths of a massive hive city dealing with gangs and weird.
You might check if you have the share settings right, because I can't hear anything.
I muted it. We'll just watch.
Okay.
I can never figure out how to get the volume right on these things, so we'll just watch. But yeah, it's a first person shooter. You're running around blasting people, and you've got a dog, at some points at least.
I mean, it looks like a hive city.
Yeah. Yeah, so like if you've seen the Dredd movie, not Judge Dredd, but just Dredd, think of like these massive cities that are all in one building. Obviously, this is much bigger even in that movie, but yeah, I mean this thing looks cool. I'm no gamer, but it looks cool.
It passes the does it look like a hive city test, and
yeah, for sure. So that's it. So that is Hired Gun. I assume June 1st. Actually, it's coming up pretty soon.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
We've got another video game coming out soon as well, which is similar to the Vermintide games.
Right. The I don't remember the name of it.
I can't remember the name, but I bet Wombat knows what it is.
Yeah, Dredd with Keith Urban, not Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone.
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. I always get those confused too. And Urban. The new model this week is this lady Annika, the Thirsting Blade. There's a lot going on here.
There is, but it's a fun model.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the mask, so you could do an entirely different color scheme on that. You know, all sorts of details versus what you actually do on her face. That kind of stuff I think is really cool.
The hair is wonderful. The collar on the cloak.
Yeah.
And the way the gown moves. This would be fun to paint for anybody.
Yeah, and then we get a couple of detail shots. Yeah, and even on the back of this crazy collar, there's even more details. So, yeah, something's cool. And she's
the game.
Yeah, and she is a soul blight vampire. So we'll see. Yeah, Keith Urban, Carl Urban. I mean, look, you got one Urban, you got them all, right?
They have a dictionary. That's all I know.
Yeah, and then like I talked about yesterday, April Fools happened. So Games Workshop had to get in on that, and we got.
I haven't looked at this, but I assume it's a Primaris Lieutenant.
Yeah, so it's a Primaris Lieutenant. It's, I mean, the animation at least is good.
Oh yeah.
But it's just, yeah.
I wonder if he's a limited edition or if he was just never available to order.
Oh. And they totally ripped off the Lego Movie font and look. And then they joke about Lieutenant. But you see, from visionary director Alf Arias.
Oh, there you go.
Get it, Alf Arias. Yeah. So that's fun. At least it's goofy enough that like we can just get on with it. It doesn't. It's slightly less painful than most of the other April Fools things that I see online.
Their marketing department's been very funny over the last couple of years about getting things that are fun to watch while making you interested in the hobby.
Yeah. It's
their Christmas ads are priceless. If you haven't seen them, they're worth checking out.
Yeah. Oh, and then speaking of actual funny things, hold on, let me shrink to fit. Let's see if I can add this. Stop screen. Share screen. Go. So the regimental standard is a humorous ongoing project that the Games Workshop has. And this latest one, 5 reasons why the Drukhari should fear you, not why you should fear the Drukhari. I don't know if that's big enough where you're actually going to be able to read it, but their poisoned weapons aren't even that poisonous. Their armor offers no protection. Their best warriors are just show-offs. Their hybrid creations are mere liabilities, and they value their lives. Of course, all things that that you wouldn't expect guardsmen to be particularly afraid of. So it's silly, but it's fun. Cool. Okay, so let's talk Warhammer.
I like talking Warhammer.
That's what we're here to do. So why don't you tell us what was your first experience, your first introduction to all of Warhammer?
I was in college in 2001, and a couple of new kids who were in the college gaming group were like, "We're going to play Warhammer." I'd seen it before in stores because my older brother's a gamer, and he's got a decade on. So he'd go in to buy Dungeons and Dragons books, and I would see all these miniatures in these cases at a little hobby shop in Kansas City, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, these are cool." I didn't figure out it was a game until much later. So we'll flash forward back again to 2001. And they're like, "Well, we're playing this game," and I had a buddy who was into it, and so I'm like, "Okay, I'll get started." And that year, I got my brother got me the 3rd edition starter set, which is the Black Templar versus Dark Eldar box.
Yeah,
back. And I had enough money that I got 2 Space Marine Battle Forces for less than $100, which is how long I've been playing this game.
Nice.
And so I just started building from there, and I got more and more stuff, and I've just accumulated an army over the years, and I've watched 6 editions of the what edition are we on? Our 9th edition 40K.
Ninth, yeah.
I've seen 6 editions of the game come and go. I missed the Road Trader and 2nd edition eras by about a year.
Okay.
But no, I've watched it change and evolve over the years. I've played Warhammer Fantasy a little bit, but not as much. I've got an army for it as well. And then I've got a little bit of stuff for Age of Sigmar in other boxes and other blocks. When I'm a gaming omnivore, I'll play lots of different stuff.
Sure.
Play card games, play D&D, play role-playing games, play miniature war games when I can. But since I started acting funny, it's been a lot harder to paint.
Yeah. Okay, so Black Templars were your first army then?
Yes, they were somebody said they were easy to paint. And I was like, okay, and they were.
Sure. Okay, so that was the first one. So what was your progression through the armies?
Oh, geez, you're gonna make me feel old again. Okay. Black Templars turned into generic Space Marines because then I just sort of played whatever I wanted to at that point because I had enough books and friends that were playing that it's like I dabbled with Space Wolves, I dabbled with Blood Angels. I didn't like them very much. I dabbled with Dark Angels, and I dabbled with let's see what I played Ultramarines for a little while. Wasn't a huge fan because they didn't have special rules of their own.
Sure.
Shifted into Imperial Fists in 5th edition.
Okay.
I was playing pretty much standard stock Imperial Fist successors through 5th and 6th editions. And then I started playing Deathwing Terminators for Dark Angels about the same time. Those are the 2 Imperial armies I had. Then I had a little bit of Chaos Space Marines from there because I like Night Lords and always have. I think they're interesting.
Sure.
From there I picked up Eldar. Sold the Eldar.
Space Batman, sure.
I like Space Batman. Space Batman and Space Comedian is very funny corollary to Space Batman. Because the Night Lords are Space Batman and Space Joker combined, which makes them very, very, very interesting personality-wise. So let's see. We're on. Let's see. So Chaos Space Marines. From there, things get a little fuzzy. I picked up Eldar. I ended up selling them off to a buddy of mine. I picked up Grey Knights. Ended up selling them off to the same buddy who bought the Eldar.
Okay.
I had a friend of mine who bought into Tau 4 different times over the course of 5 years. I didn't end up with his army, I don't think, but I ended up buying a third-hand Tau army from somebody else and I'm holding on to it for my nephew.
Okay.
I picked up. Let's see. I got rid of my Dark Eldar a long time ago. I didn't have very many of them. I have an Adeptus Mechanicus force somewhere. I have my Imperial Guard Regiment, which is a combination of Adeptus Mechanicus parts, let's see, Tempestus Scion parts, and I have Vansar gang parts from Necromunda.
Sure.
So there's this wonderful weird mishmash of cyborgs that run around doing stuff.
Okay.
I did pick up Imperial Knights, played for them for 2 or 3 editions, and then I got to the point where I'm like, these are fun, but somebody else is going to have more fun with these than I. So I recently sold those out to a buddy of mine who's hanging out in chat.
Yes, I wonder who that could be.
But let's see, what else do I have for this game? Oh,
so what?
My newest, I have a Wraith Lord army for Eldari.
Right.
And I have Necrons hiding somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to keep track of what you haven't said yet. I was gonna say Necrons.
Then I have Primaris Imperial Fists, and I have another Primaris chapter that I'm going to work on. But that's when I find time to mess around with something.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. What haven't you mentioned? So no straight up Chaos Demons.
Oh no, I have a thousand. I have a Zinch Thousand Sons army.
Okay.
I have a Zinch Demons army.
Okay.
I've never played that. I've actually played a game with. I've never played Tau. I have never played Custodes.
Okay.
I've never played Sisters. I have never played Tyranids, though I think Tyranids are neat. I just think they need new models.
Yeah, sure.
I have never played Orcs.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
If it's a Space Marine chapter, I probably played it in some form or fashion, but that was the way we played Space Marines when I started.
Yeah.
I've only played generic Chaos a couple of times. There are a couple of armies I'd like to see play, but we're probably not going to.
Yeah.
Like I like to see Trader Guard.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole a whole thing with Forge World, and yeah, it would have been nice if we got an actual Trader Guard army one of these days. I mean, there are minis for it.
If you've got the models for them, just give us the book. We'll figure out the rest.
Yeah,
we're pretty good at that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially with the whole Gene Stealer cults being able to use.
I haven't played those either.
Okay. Yeah, that's usually the last one I remember. Is like, oh yeah, and Gene Stealer cults. That's a separate thing. But the fact that Gene Stealer cults can use so much of what's like, okay, if you want to play tanks and Gene Stealer cults, you just got to go get Imperial Guard tanks. Well, make it the same way for Trader Guard.
Yeah. Realistically, you need 3 new HQ choices, and basically you end up with you can take these selections out of the Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Yeah.
You pull this stuff out of the Imperial Guard Codex, and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. And they can reuse the model they did for what is it, the Fallen Commissar, was it, for the expansion for Blackstone Fortress?
Yeah. There's a Trader Commissar in there, there's a Trader Ogren, there's a bunch of Trader Guard.
Yeah.
And realistically, all you would need for a Trader Guard kit is an upgrade sprue that had heads on it and had gun variations.
Yeah.
And you would be ready to run for any Trader Guard unit you wanted to run.
Yeah. Well, come on, Games Workshop, get on that.
Oh, they're going to get right on that after they get right on the shoulder pads for all 18 legions.
Of course. I mean, I guess this is all what 3D printing is for, right?
I have a list of things that I would like to see Games Workshop do. So far, we've hit none of them.
I think everybody who's in Warhammer for more than like a couple months starts that list.
But you're right. The rise of 3D printing technology has made it very, very easy to get replacement parts and other things that you want for your miniature hobby.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. So I know that you're into the 3D printing world.
Yes.
Right.
My printer will finally get here in May.
Okay.
Yes, and then it will be busy for a while.
I assume you have a couple of things lined up to start as soon as that arrives.
I think my first kilogram of resin is going into a Battlefleet Gothic fleet.
Nice. And was that the Patreon that you had showed me?
Yes, that is Soulforge Studios, and they're a wonderful group of hobbyists that have been designing ships that are compatible with Battlefleet Gothic. Because I don't know if Games Workshop's going to make another version.
I got to imagine they have plans, but yeah, when it'll come out is another story.
They've had 2 successful Battlefleet Gothic video games in the last 5 years. I would have thought that would have been the time.
Yeah.
To catch in on the high water mark of, hey guys, if you want to play this game over here, it's almost the same rules.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with it, Battlefleet Gothic is essentially a spaceship game that is in Warhammer 40k. So most of the factions have spaceships that you can battle out. It looks awesome. There used to be an old miniature game for it, metal spaceships, for a bunch of different factions.
Yeah, they're about 2 to 3 inches long. The big ones are. The bigger ones are 5 or 6 inches, but there's only 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are long out of print. You can try to scrounge them up on eBay. Some of them are insanely expensive. Some of them are not very expensive. I think the production was pretty uneven on some of those, but the
metal kits are expensive, and if I remember correctly, the combo kits where you need both, where it's got metal parts on top of a plastic ship, those are ridiculous. Yeah,
and I've talked about it before. I've looked at this. I've looked at this stuff, and so far, I've been able to keep myself from diving into that because it would be very expensive to try to recollect and create a fleet for that.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah, but spaceships and Warhammer 40k for me would be like chocolate and peanut butter. So at the same time that I hope they bring the game back in some way, I'm also sort of dreading it. I don't see
usually do that with.
Yeah, because I don't see how I would be able to keep myself from jumping in on that, but we'll see. One day.
Oh yeah.
One day I'm sure it'll happen. Okay, let's talk about Let's talk about armies on display.
Yes. So we put together a hobby project for the community, for every community. Basically, if you would like to get in on so an armies on parade is an idea that Games Workshop does, where you, as a hobbyist, will create a full display board with an army that's about 2,000-ish points, roughly, depending on what game system you're playing. And it's painted together, it's themed together, it's designed, it's cohesive, it looks right. It looks like an old school diorama if you were into that when you were younger, you had friends in high school or other modeling groups. But we're going to build one as a group. Actually, we're going to build a bunch of these because everybody's going to build their own. And the documentation for that will go out on Monday for anybody who signed up, and I will make sure that we get a link for that somewhere.
Boom. Got it.
Excellent. For the signups, like I said, we'll be putting out articles and ideas for inspiration for you to, as a new hobbyist, to get in on this. If it's something you want to do, something you want to try, there'll be all sorts of activities and articles and worksheets to help you figure out what you want to do.
Yes. Yeah, I am super excited about it because like I said, I've never done it. I don't have a fully painted army. Never have had one, let alone one that is based. Let me see if I can bring up real quick an actual picture of what these things look like.
They're wonderful, wonderful things. It's an expression of your creativity as an artist and as a modeler and as a builder, and to put your personal spin on what you want to do.
Yeah, and again, in the way that we're doing it is we're making it so that even if you are new to hobbying, new to whatever game, if you've never touched a miniature before, we're going to help you figure all of this out. So this is, so these are armies on parade models. So again, essentially this is a fully painted army in a cohesive diorama setting. I mean, again, you Google image search, you're going to get the craziest ones. I mean, Jesus, look at this thing with the smoke and everything. But it doesn't have to be this crazy.
No.
But yeah. And yeah, what people do with these things is just bonkers.
Yeah, there are some very impressive armies on display in places. I'm sorry,
wow.
Ours is always because it's really distinctive so that we don't get sued.
Yeah. But yeah, it's rad.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so sign up. Make sure you're signed up. We're going to be talking about it a lot because we're all very, very excited about this project. And again,
it's not due until November 2022. So you've got an entire year and a half basically to work on the project. And there are deadlines and there's things in there. I put together a fairly comprehensive package for you folks to look at and get used to. Before you even have to buy your first models, you have a lot of do research. Yeah,
awesome. And again, we're Zardoz, myself, we've got other really great hobby people are going to be involved. We're going to be talking. We're going to be checking in on each other, seeing how things are going. Obviously, no pressure, but we'll be there to help. Yeah. So it's
the peer pressure in this is very, very friendly, helpful pressure.
Yes. and also, like, we're not expecting people to go out and buy a ton of stuff, and we will help you if you want to get involved in this, but you don't want to spend a ton of money. We will give you all of our ideas and our all of our tips on ways that you can get into this hobby without spending a ton of money, because it is possible.
Yeah,
possible. Yeah, cool. And I was pretty sure Rabid Wombat was going to be in on this in some capacity.
I think he said something silly about doing knights.
Ooh. Hey, look, I've got feet. I've got the feet of a knight.
You've got the wrong legs for a knight.
Well, they're legs.
They're the boring legs.
They're the legs that came in the kit that I bought. It was the kit that had the most parts.
Yeah, but you were going to 3D print parts anyway.
Well, it's going to be covered up with armor. It's fine. Yeah. So anyway, so that's happening. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your blog?
Okay. I cover lots of different things on the blog. For the last 4 or 5 months, we've been doing hobby stuff. I've been reviewing the new combat patrols as they come out. I've been working on stuff for 9th edition Warhammer 40k. I'll be doing some content for another game I like called Dystopian Wars.
Oh, I didn't know you were into that one.
I love the setting for Dystopian Wars. So I like Wild West Exodus. I like the Dystopian Wars shipbuilding game. I like Lost World Exodus, which is the weird mishmash of Victorian era science fiction. So you have dinosaurs in Antarctica being chased by hunters in pith helmets.
Awesome.
It's a very unique aesthetic.
And that was the game that, what was it? Was it Spartan?
Spartan Games originally did Dystopian Wars. It was one of their 4 or 5 games, and then they ran into a distribution issue and ended up selling a bunch of the stuff. And War Cradle Studios ended up picking up the license for Dystopian Wars and Wild West Exodus.
Got it. Okay.
And they've been doing a fairly good job of managing the IP and making new stuff and making coherent lines out of it again.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Other things that I need to work on at the house. I have a Blood Bowl 2nd edition starter set. I have a Dystopian Wars box to unbox. I've got the zombie side to paint. I'm very excited by that. I've got an Indominus starter set to crack open and work on, which that'll be fun to fill in around stuff.
Yeah.
Because I can paint Space Marines, I can paint Necrons reasonably fast. Let's see. But no, the blog has been there for 5 or 6 years now. There's a lot, if you go back deep enough, there's a lot of RPG content because I used to do 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
Okay.
I kind of got bored with 5th edition, and it has some problems as a concept that I don't like. So I moved off of it. I found some other games that I enjoy playing. As I find more new stuff, I will write up articles and features. Like I'm going to write up a feature on Lasting Tales before the end of its Kickstarter campaign starts.
Cool. Yeah, there are a lot of games out there, and even people who are into, say, Dungeons and Dragons or into Warhammer, like you may not realize just how many games there are out there in the world.
Yes, there are more games than you imagine there are, and there are people who play them everywhere. You just need to go find them.
Yeah. Just I'm curious. What are some of the things that you don't like about 5th edition?
I don't like the base structure of Dungeons and Dragons anymore. I don't like the colonialism in it. Dungeons and Dragons has a lot of inherent racism in it. It has a lot of other inherent social issues that are just baked into the core, and we can write better stories. As people who design games, we can write better. We can design better things.
Yeah, and that's it's been interesting to see more of that kind of discussions going on. Yeah. There's a lot of that happens on Twitter that I see. But yeah, it's basically like if you want to play a fantasy setting role-playing game, you don't have to just go with Dungeons and Dragons. There are other things out there that are exactly. As Miss Chrysilla says, you go back and like D&D was made by a bunch of white dudes, and over the years obviously there's been more inclusivity in the people who work. Well, obviously TSR and then Wizards of the Coast, but yeah, you can just start with a game that is that is outside of the D&D world. You don't have to necessarily try to fix it from within. You can just go play something else that doesn't have all of that inherent issues in it already.
I tried to play test for a new game that's coming out from Evil Hat in a couple of months that I liked a lot, that I thought was fun.
Cool. Yeah, so there's a lot out there, and it's awesome that you cover all of this kind of stuff. Do you work with these companies?
If they're willing to send me stuff, I will happily be willing to write about it. If not, I will end up paying for it and writing reviews anyway.
Sure, I know a lot about that.
Yeah, if it's something I think is interesting enough that I would go out and buy it, I will send it to the company and say, hey, if you'll send me one, I'll review one for you. Yeah. If not, I will end up buying one anyway.
Yeah. Totally fair. You'd be surprised at sometimes, people are like, hey, cool, I'll send you one of those.
Oh, yeah.
And other times you just never hear back from them.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Every company has an interesting PR relationship with their customer base.
Yeah.
And some folks don't do it very well. And it happens.
Yes. Cool. All right. So we've mentioned knights a few times. Let's talk about knights. Now you said that you at one point played knights.
Yes, I played knights through the end of 5th edition when they were released. I played them in 6th edition. I played them in 7th edition, and I played them a little bit. I had the stuff to play them in 8th edition, but I never got a game in because of my health issues. I wasn't able to really get out and play.
Sure.
So it was one of those things that I had the stuff, I just wasn't able.
Yeah. Now, so in the span of time that you've been playing, you've also seen knights go from a novelty to like you're that guy if you play knights to everything in between.
Yeah, knights have had an interesting evolution as the range has gotten bigger. Because when they started, there was just the Knight Warden kit, so it was one box that made 3 different weapon options.
Yeah,
you had either the sword, and you had the melted cannon, or you had the rapid fire battle cannon. Those were your 3 weapon options, and then you had either stubbers or melta guns.
Mm-hmm. Now you've got a few more options than that.
Yes, and some of the new weapon options are ridiculous. The mega flamethrower, the mega harpoon.
It's so ridiculous. So again, if you're joining us and you're not familiar with what knights are, well, here are knights. They're giant robots. Knights are piloted by one pilot. This has a lot of just information, not so many pictures. So let me get some pretty pictures up in here.
We do like pretty pictures.
Here we can go right to the knights.
Yeah,
on the website.
Knights are not the biggest Imperial war machine that exists, but they're close.
Yeah, which we can talk about in a second as well. Here, let's do price low to high so we can see all the goodies in order. Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really interesting that they added, what was this, a couple of years ago? When they added the Armigers.
That was at the 8th edition Codex release. They had the Armigers and the Knight Castellan and the Forge Shrine.
Right, that's right.
For the Canis Rex kit.
Yeah. So these are mini knights. So you don't have to play just knights where their legs are this big, and so the full thing would be that big thereabouts. But Armigers they're little itty bitty ones. Now, how does the pilot sit in these things?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little bit crunched up in this one.
Well, you can see the outline of where the cockpit is, where that handle is on the top.
Yeah.
The seat is right underneath that.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit less room than in the full size one. Rapid Wombat, I was going to say carefully. I like that. So we've got Armigers, and there are technically two different versions for the good guys, as we like to call them.
The Loyalists.
Yeah. Ones that essentially have ones that are a little bit more shooty, and these that are a little bit more choppy. So they've got chain cleavers. You currently cannot buy these, unfortunately. Yeah,
the Helverins carry multi-shot autocannons, whereas the Warglaves carry the thermal spear melta-cannons and the close combat blades.
Yeah, and these are cool because they do come to a box, so they're a little bit easier to start building a few of them.
The other fun issue of that is that they come in squads of 1 to 3. All right, guys.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and these do come in both Loyalist and Chaos varieties, although there are some differences to what you can do with them.
Yeah, I don't know the Chaos Knight Codex very well. I know that it's fun to play. I've seen some battle reports with them, and they are a blast.
Yeah, and they have a cool name. They're War Dogs instead of Armigers. So yeah, but then the actual line itself consists of essentially 3 standard size knights and then 2 jumbo knights. This one is sort of the preceptor kit, which is the one that I have to build my Chaos Knight, lets you build any of the 3 standard size versions or some basically like a little bit of a specialized variant, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the Knight Preceptor, Canis Rex is a free blade, so he's a independent knight who runs around the galaxy by himself, tilting at windmills and shooting Chaos Marines. and has its own special rules, but you can build a regular Knight Preceptor out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So going through, so the Gallants is this this beefy one here, and you can see, like, again, from what I have, the legs by themselves they're not super tall, but you see, like, the Knights are mainly upper body. they usually skip leg day, so almost everything that's going on the Knight is above the waist.
They're especially chunky in the torso. The arms aren't necessarily big and bulky, but the body is definitely where the muscle mass is on this thing.
Yeah, and where they come out. And so again, like the different weapon options. So the Gallant here is going to have a close combat arm, and you get a couple of different varieties. A lot of this stuff, depending on what version you're playing, you can swap out, so you can change things up. But yeah, this has got both. It's got a fist or a claw, and then
it's got the Reaper Sword and the Thunderstrike Gauntlet.
Yeah, and then some missiles up on top. Beefy Kobe, welcome. We are talking about knights. Yeah, they have nothing going on below the belt except for like a little flag dangling down there.
Would have just called them Roboballs. I think
that works.
That sounds like a Jess.
Yeah. Oh, and there is a little gun right next to the head too, so they don't lack completely in range capability, but that's more to clear out little infantry that's getting in the way.
If you sub out that shield that's on the other shoulder, you can also mount a gun there.
Okay, so you get some anti-armor as well.
They're little guns. They're designed for clearing out infantry. On a Knight of that type, you're going to use that rocket pod to open up holes in things as you're closing in, and then you're going to punch them.
Yeah.
Remember, right? The Gallant moves faster than the other Knights.
Right. And playing Knights is really interesting if you play them as an army all to themselves, because they also get a lot of options as far as, like, you make one your Warlord and it gets crazy Warlord traits. It becomes a character. You can equip it with relics just like you can a regular army. So it might have a specific a specific claw instead of that regular hand that can do extra things. They have access to all different kinds of shields. It's pretty crazy.
And you can play Knights as either members of a noble house, or you can play them as Mechanicum allies. And it does affect what traits you get, what Warlord traits, what relics you can take. And the other thing to remember is that Knights, especially the big ones, you're going to have an overabundance of command points in a regular sized game. So it's worth it sometimes to make them all characters and give them Warlord traits and relics, because then you can specifically tailor them for their battlefield experience. Yeah,
exactly. Beefy Kobe, that's cool. Yeah, I just picked up the Preceptor box because I'm going to be making a Chaos Knight out of this, but this comes with so many good bits. So I'm starting there. Yeah, Rabid Wombat, the one where you can throw actual things at other things is definitely a cool ability. So that's the Gallant, and then we've got the Crusader, which, as you can obviously tell, has lots and lots of guns. And again, all of the parts for each one of these 3 basic kits, they're all in here. So you can build all of these different guns and melee weapons just out of this box.
You can also build all 3 of the Carapace weapons that are up on the
up on top. Yeah. So again, if you want to shoot stuff, this is the Knight for you. 2 gun arms. No, this is just showing the other options you can make. Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
You can run the Aventry Gatling Cannon, you can run the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon, or you can run the Thermal Multi-Melta Cannon, which is a multi-shot multi-melta, which in earlier editions was something to be terrified of, but now everyone's got one.
Yeah. Wow, Beefy Kobe says, you're turning yours into a giant grot for your Grot Rebellion army. That sounds amazing. I want to see pictures of that. Please share.
Dig it. I want it.
Yeah, I love it. There's always that conversation you have, like, oh yeah, I got this kid, and I'm gonna do like a convert this and this and this, and then somebody's like, no, I'm gonna turn this into something completely different, nothing to do with the base model. That's awesome. I love it.
I love it.
So we've got the Crusader here, and then the Warden, which sort of just gives you more options, right? You can.
The Warden splits the difference because it gives you a close combat arm and a shooting arm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So you'll have either the Thunderstrike Gauntlet or the Reaper Chainsword, and then the other side you've got any of the 3-gun arms you can take.
Yes. And then again, there's always... Oh, you can see the back. Yeah, and then the cool weapon up on top. And the kit comes with all of these little... You see the little this little eagle head there. Lots and lots of little decorations you can put all over this thing. And of course, if you're going to convert it, you can put whatever you want in all these places.
The eagle heads are indicators that that's a household knight.
Mm-hmm.
The Questor Mechanicus ones use the Mechanicus symbol instead.
Yeah.
And
so
you see them on the sprue.
Yeah, so it's like hood emblems. So they're not just decoration, but they're also telling where it comes from and what it is. Right, because essentially, so the knights are all, well, they're mostly ancient war machines. As I think, as you pointed out, they can technically build new ones, although I think that's pretty rare that they're building new knights in 40K.
It's hard to do because of the resources that you need to build one. But the parts to make them, if I remember correctly, are pre-STC constructions. So all you need are the blueprints, and you can build one.
Yeah.
As long as you can source the parts for it.
Yeah, that's true.
The hard part are the Throne Mechanicums, which are needed to actually sync the pilot with the knight.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because of course, this is Warhammer, so nothing can be straightforward. So you build this giant war machine, but to actually get a person to pilot this thing, it's sort of like a combination of basically think of your anime, your silly anime with pilots having to link up with their war machine, and this is in to a small extent this is in Robotech, but you think your Neon Genesis and Pacific Rim, yeah, exactly. And so there's a special seat that's inside, and it's got all of these ways to attach the actual machine to the pilot, and they have to sync with it.
And the thrones are very choosy about who they allow to operate them.
Mm-hmm. And so typically, most knights are in knight houses. So it's it's basically like a noble family, and they'll pass these knights on from one to another because usually it runs in the family that you can pilot these things. Basically,
they're heirlooms.
Yeah.
They're the family sword and shield.
I'm sorry, Undead Saints fan. Sorry, Gundam was not a silly anime. Okay, I'm sorry.
Gundam can be a silly anime.
So that's true. There have been a lot of different versions over the years.
Yeah.
And Melpomino, I mean, if you want to put truck nuts on your knight, no one's going to stop you.
I think you'll get a pat on the back from Jeff.
Yeah, and in certain places you'd be welcomed with even wider arms if you did something like that. But yeah, we get all these cool stories about knight houses, and they all fight for whatever reason. And again, some knight houses are generically loyalists, so they can show up anywhere. Some of them are sort of allied with Space Marine chapters, so they follow them around and work with them. If they
allied to Imperial Guard regiments.
Yeah, exactly. And when they do that, if they do that enough and they get certain honors, then they can actually put some of those logos on the knight. There's a lot of different stuff you could do with that. Truck nuts on an orc vehicle. I mean, hey, look, you can put truck nuts on anything if you want. I'm certainly not stopping you. And then, like I said, then we get the beefy ones. So these are the newest of the Loyalist Knights. It's entirely bigger frame, so it's not this model. It's bigger, and especially you can see it has much bigger arm guns, and then the top, the carapace, instead of sort of being one hump, it's got this long, or this wide rather. It's almost like a shelf on top to add in 2 weapon systems on the outside and 2 underslung next to the head. And these things are ridiculous.
They are walking gun batteries.
Just and the damage and the special rules for these weapons are are completely insane. So it comes in 2 different versions. So this is the Castellan, which has I don't even remember what they call this stupid stuff, but this giant plasma.
Plasma
what is it?
I think
Plasma. Hold on. Let's get the
official GW name for it.
Yeah, plasma decimator. Okay, that's cool. And then the other one is the volcano lance. But in my opinion, the best one of all is on this Valiant. So over here, this is a harpoon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, over here, it's this essentially a gigantic triple flamethrower weapon. The harpoon is the Thunder Coil Harpoon. Oh, shoot. I wanted to bring up what the rules are for it.
Ridiculous. The rules are ridiculous.
The plasma doodadinator. Well, it might as well be that.
The plasma gizmotron.
Hold on. Let me bring this up really quick because it is just.
Oh yeah, the gun rules for the knights, especially the Castellans, the Castellan and the Valiant. I am not sure what they were thinking in terms of balance, but they exist.
Yeah.
There's a theory that all the weapon changes in 9th edition are a result of these things existing.
Interesting.
And these are so completely unbalanced that in order to rebalancing, they just made all of the guns better.
That's fair.
So
the Thunder Coil Harpoon, it's heavy 1, so you get 1 shot. It's super short range, especially for a knight weapon. It's only 12 inches. This thing hits at strength 16. So even the toughest standard tank, you're going to be wounding on 2s. It is AP -6. So nothing gets a regular save against it, essentially. You have to have an invulnerable save. You can reroll failed hit rolls when targeting vehicles or monster units. So essentially, it's going to hit. And then damage is flat 10 damage. And if it inflicts any damage, the target unit suffers an additional D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
So essentially, whatever you point this thing at is going to die. You're gonna annihilate one thing within 12 inches every turn, potentially.
Maybe.
And that's
one arm.
Right, yes, right. At least, actually, we should say at least one thing. Yeah, that's crazy.
You have to pick the right target for it, though, because you shouldn't shoot that into large blobs of infantry, because you'll hit one guy with it and he'll be extra dead, but his friends will be dead. But no, if you're shooting dreadnoughts, if you're shooting at land raiders, if you're shooting at other tanks, if you're shooting at little knights, you are going to seriously impair that model's functionality if it's not dead.
Yes.
But it's got the flamethrower to deal with large quantities of troops, because I think that's 3d6 shots.
I think so. Yeah, that other arm will help you clear out all the garbage, so you can get to that juicy target to shoot that harpoon into. But yeah, just it's silly. It's great, but it's silly.
And those are the regular Games Workshop knights. The Forge World knights get into a whole other category of, why did you make that?
Yeah, and we should say too that of course, in a lot of ways, Chaos gets a lot of the similar things that the Loyalists do for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, Chaos, the human forces of Chaos split off from what are now Loyalists, but used to be just the Imperium of Man. So they get a lot of the same technologies. Also, it makes it easy for Games Workshop to resell the same kits and the same models, because multiple factions can use them. And it used to be, like you were saying, that if you wanted to play Chaos Knights, you just had to buy a regular knight and then convert it, or pay an insane amount of money for a Forge World kit to convert your knight. But now there's an entire range, well, mostly a range of actual Chaos Knights that you can just get. So we have minis, we have the War Dogs. These are I believe these are the same, right? You just have to convert these from the Armigers to the War Dogs.
I think so. I think it's the same kit.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a Chaos Upgrade sprue in there.
Okay.
You can look at the sprues in that picture down below.
Yeah, I was just looking to see what the box. If it's just showing the standard box, I'm guessing that's just the regular ones.
Yeah, that looks like the regular kits.
Yeah.
You would have to the War Dogs you would have to convert with either paint or with bits you have laying around the house.
Yeah, and obviously, like even just on these pictures, the Chaos star on here and the red eyes, like they automatically look more evil than the other ones we just looked at. But nicely, Games Workshop has actually given us Chaos Knights. Just these two. Not the spoiler is just the regular kit that you have to convert yourself, but this thing is pretty rad.
There's a lot of neat going on in that box.
Yeah. Obviously, like lots of chains and exposed parts that you don't get in the Loyalist versions. There are little hooks here and there, especially like these different masks for the head, which are really cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I do like the leg structure on the Chaos Knight better than I do the Imperial one. I wish I had those for my regular Knights.
Yeah, you get the cool secondary reverse articulated knee there. It's pretty neat. And then again, there are different versions depending on if you want to be. Where's just the regular? There we go. There's some cool ones. Yeah, a lot you can do with this. A friend of mine plays. Well, he plays everything, but he especially loves Chaos everything, and I think he has 8 Chaos Knights right now that he's running.
If I get a new Knight, I'm going to get a Chaos one, and I'm only going to have one just to run around with my Night Lords.
Sure. Undead Saints fan says, no, always interrupt. If I don't notice something in the chat, I'll get to it eventually, but please. When is it best to print or buy a kit? Well, I mean, are we talking about like if you wanted one of these things and trying to like get a 3D printed replacement? Is that what you mean? Oh, when starting out? Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about starting out in, if you want to get into Warhammer, obviously the easiest way is just to go into a Games Workshop store or go into your local hobby store that carries Games Workshop kits. And there are things like start collecting boxes, which they're slowly replacing with these combat patrol boxes. And that'll give you a start to an army.
My advice is leave your wallet in the car. And I have to show you some demo games before. Because if this is a game you don't like, investing money in it is not going to make you like it more. It's just going to make you angrier at it.
True.
So leave your wallet in the car the first time you go into the Games Workshop store and have to ask for a demo.
Mm.
And see if you like the game first. That's where I'm going to start with any suggestion for learning how to play a game. Is that if you like the game, then see about starting to find models for it.
Yeah, no, that is excellent advice. Yeah, and then beyond that, just go and look at everything. There's a lot. There are a bunch of different armies with very different styles in models. Both in aesthetic and in size and in what they can all do. But yeah, once you skipping it, so assuming you are familiar enough to know that this is something that you want to play and that you've picked out an army, when it comes to actually buying the models, you still have some options. Like I said, there are starter sets, and unfortunately, because the game has the amount of complexity that it does, not every starter is created equal. So some start collecting boxes are better to start an army, and some are not. Some are things that you'd want to get a little bit further down the line rather than the first thing you buy, if that makes sense. And Zardoz, I know you've talked about this when you do the breakdowns of what you get in some of these boxes.
Some of them are very, very good. Some of them are not what I would consider beginner friendly. From both aspects. From a modeling aspect, the Workshop kit is pretty much universally complicated to put together. But when you're playing the game, some kits are easier to play than others. Some things are just fire and forget. You don't have to worry about. They're not fiddly. You don't have to worry about how they're going to do. You can count on these things to do this thing in the game.
Yeah. And then if you were looking for something, a different way to approach things, you could just buy individual kits for things that you were looking at, or you could look at the vast secondary market, people who bought, a big starter box and only wanted one of the armies in it and is selling the other army. You could buy entire armies that people are just selling that they don't want anymore. So there are lots of different ways to approach it. Now Kill Team is a whole other. It's another big discussion, because in the world of 40K there are other games that take place in that same universe, and Kill Team is one that shares anything that you can play in Kill Team is usable in 40K, and not entirely vice versa, but mostly vice versa. And there are Kill Team starters and Kill Team boxes, and yes, anybody in there you can use in 40K, but it won't get you if you start in Kill Team, essentially you won't have a full 40K army. You'll still need to supplement that with other things, but it can definitely be a start to what you want to do.
My first place to start is, once you've decided on an army that you want to play, get the codex or the army book or whatever it is for that faction.
Mm-hmm.
That will let you look at all of the things that you have available to you and sort of look at how the stats work, look at how their rules work. And then you really just need appropriate size representations for the bases. And you can practice with them at home, and you can learn how to play them with friends. You can have them playing around the table around with a beer, and see what you like, see what plays well for you, and then start buying the models that you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to take a really conservative way of doing it, I would get in lots of practice games with flat bases and beer bottle caps.
Yeah, or nowadays you can do Tabletop Simulator also.
Yes.
But again, there's a bit of a steep learning curve to get into that one.
There's a bit of a hitch to get into Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah. So that's sort of, and hopefully that's not too much of a daunting answer, but there is a lot to this, and you want to make sure that you're getting in such a way that you're not going to regret the money that you spend. Because you could easily go out and be like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to buy up all this stuff, but then realize, oh, well, it doesn't really play that well together. Or I've got a bunch of this model, but I can only play this size unit. And you don't want to get into that sort of situation. That's why, unfortunately, and as Rabid Wombat is saying, the big starter boxes are usually pretty good at getting somewhat of a decent sized army right out of the box. But they're big, they're expensive. Often you get two armies and you don't want two armies. So depending on which army out of that box is the more sought after, that one will be much more expensive on the secondary market, but the other one will actually be cheaper on the secondary market than the standard price would be. So I imagine you could still find the Necron half of Indomitus for a pretty good price, even on the secondary market.
That would make sense. And then it's not just Indomitus. There's also the ones that came out in the command sets, whatever the official are called. The command edition, the recruit edition, the general edition.
Yes. Yeah.
They're all three of those are 2-player starter sets, but there's just different degrees of what models are in them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really good point. So for the start of this edition, for 9th edition, Games Workshop released the big Indomitus box, right? And it has what's about the points for those armies?
Last I checked, there's
the power level
per side. So I think it's about 100 power level. No, it's
okay.
It's about 50, I think, per side.
Yeah, that makes sense. So about 50 power level. So that's a perfectly good starting army for Space Marines and Necrons. But then they also released other scaled down versions of that starter using the same models from that set, just fewer of them in each box. And those are pretty good to get if you're interested in Space Marines or Necrons. Any one of those is good because it also gives you, like, some of them give you terrain, some of them give you a mat. All of them have just like stuff, dice, and whatever else you need. So those are still pretty good to get if you're interested in those two armies.
Pro tip: if you're going to buy a squad of Necron warriors, just buy a recruit edition box of 40K because it's $5 more. You get 5 assault intercessors that you can sell to your friend and get back some of your money. and it's got the exact same models in it that the new Necron Warrior box has in it.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes Games Workshop does these really weird things, and you're like, well, wait, I can buy this, or I can buy this for only a few bucks more, and it has how much more stuff in it?
Yeah.
It's like, yep, and essentially, that was this.
Yeah.
There's so many extra parts for literally, what was it, like $7 more? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But again, these are all really good questions for our Armies on Display project, because if you have questions, you can ask us directly via any messaging, or just on the Discord is great, and we'll help you and give you specific answers to all of your specific questions. Any army you want to build, we'll give you advice on how to do it, on how to do it right, on how to do it competitively, on how to do it fun. I specialize in that last answer.
We'll do 2 out of 3 because I don't think any of us play competitively.
Well, that's true. But we can go and find competitive answers.
I can find competitive players. I know a few people who are very serious Warhammer players who would be happy to provide advice.
Yeah, for sure. Right, Rabid Wombat. Again, and if you get, that's the other thing. If you are interested in Kill Team at all, if you have a handful of models from another faction, you could probably just make a Kill Team out of them.
Yeah.
So don't discount that, because again, like my son the other day was asking me, do you have any Tau models? And I'm like, no, I don't know, because I don't play Tau. But then again, like if I had just a couple of Tau models, I could probably just play them as a Kill Team. So there is a reason these days just to have a few models from every faction if you wanted. Savage Punch says, what if we only want the most vague, cryptic answers? We might be able to come up with that as well.
Oh, I can find vague answers.
Zardoz, whenever you need to go, you just let me know.
We're getting pretty close to that point in time.
Okay, yeah, just whenever you need to punch out, you're all good. You were free.
About another minute left before I need to head to.
Okay, cool. Yes.
Take care of stuff. Other games.
Yeah. So going back to the Chaos Knights, so we've got the Desecrator with the gun and melee combination, and then there's the Rampager, which is pure melee, so 2 melee arms and just a little extra gun. As it says, it's a defiled close combat behemoth of chaos.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's such a wonderful kit.
And again, it's actually it's the same main kit that you can build in different ways. Where there we go. So there's all of the melee options. But what's annoying, and this is the trap that I got into a little bit, is that technically there is a third Chaos Knight called a Knight Despoiler, where you can mix and match. So if you wanted 2 long range, if you wanted 2 gun arms, essentially, you can have 2 gun arms with a carapace weapon on top or not, but there isn't a specific Chaos version kit of that. So this Knight Despoiler kit is just the Loyalist kit, and you have to convert it. So like you see on this one, there aren't actually any Chaos bits here. They just repainted it, which is cool. But yeah, and there's an option in the codex where you can play this version of the knight, so the Knight Despoiler with 2 of where's the gun? Actually, I don't even think 2 of the Avenger Gatling guns, which is apparently like the best way to play it right now, and that doesn't have 2 of those either. So like it's sometimes Games Workshop makes it tough to play even the things that they give you the rules options to play. But to actually build the parts, you need a bunch of different kits to make it.
All right. Well, I need to head out, folks, so I will have to catch up with you later. You all have a pleasant rest of the stream, and I will see you all in the Discord or on Twitter, or you can find me somewhere.
Awesome. Yes, we'll have the links to follow Zardoz. Thank you so much for joining me and talking with me today. It was great.
Thank you. Very nice.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, you'll see the links for Zardoz pop up in the chat as we go. Zardoz is super cool. I met him through Hyper, and yeah, we hit it off pretty quickly. We have a lot of shared interests, Zardoz and I. Great to talk to about everything Warhammer. So yeah, so with this spoiler thing, it became annoying trying to figure out, okay, wait, if I get this knight kit, it doesn't have 2 weapon mounts. Like even if I convert things to be this cool Avenger Gatling gun, which I have options where I can make that gun, but that one doesn't have the 2 weapon arms. So then I got to get this kit, but then I want a knight kit, so I don't have to convert as much. So again, eventually, as with a lot of people that I've found out, you just go with this kit because it has all the parts, essentially just about all the parts, and I'll just be converting as I go. Anyway, so there you go. Now again, yes, there's certainly lots of you who are watching right now that we share a lot of fun and cool interests. So just like the Loyalists, you can play these big boy knights as well. Here they're called Tyrants, and again, it's the same kit, the same weapons. You don't get any chaos specific bits to it. So these are just repainted versions of the ones that we looked at before. And here they were kind of lazy. They didn't even like paint up 2 different versions of them. It's just the same one with just different arms, which is but it's fine. It's a little lazy, but it's fine. I don't love that drab green color on a knight. For my knights, I want them to pop. These are going to be centerpieces in your army. I don't want them to blend in at all. I do like the hazard stripes, but that's Iron Warriors specifically, and I'm not down with them. Yeah, now, so it gets a little bit complicated. Oh, did I miss something? Okay, cool. Yeah, so with the Mechanicus stuff, it gets a little bit complicated because so we have the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they've been around for, in Warhammer times, a very, very long time, right? But when the Horus Heresy was going on, there were a sizable amount of the Mechanicus that split off and joined Horus and went to Chaos. They were tempted with all this crazy stuff. They got to, because if you remember, we haven't done a ton of talking about the Adeptus Mechanicus. We've done a little bit here and there, but they love technology. They love dabbling in things and creating new things, but they have a lot of really restrictive rules about what they can do. And a lot of their people chafe at those rules, as you would expect. They want to dabble. They want to, find ancient technologies and screw around with them and do, whatever weird stuff. So it's definitely understandable why a lot of these people would be like, wait, we have an option to go with Horus, and he's going to let us do whatever the heck we want, and we can mess around with other arcane technologies. Yeah, let's go do that. So you get this whole what's called the Dark Mechanicus. So it's essentially the chaos-friendly version of the Adeptus Mechanicus. So yeah, you'll see sometimes like similar symbols and things that are just reused, and they're like, yeah, it's fine. But yes, it is important to note though that even on these like official chaos versions that Games Workshop shows, like if you look at the leg armor there, it's got these like standard, pointy arrows and like clean lines and stuff. And yeah, they'll paint over it to make it look a little dirty, but you don't. If you're converting one of these knights, you don't have to go through and like shave off every one of those last little details and make little symbols on there. You could just use that. Because also, so the knights that exist that are Chaos Knights, most of them used to be Loyalist Knights, and then were just, taken over by the pilots of them went over to Chaos, but it's still the same war machine. And yeah, they'll throw some new paint on it, and over time it'll become demonic, depending on what kind of knight it is. There are different rules for different kinds of knights, but you could still technically have a relatively clean knight that is on the Chaos side. Again, you have so many options for how you want to convert and paint and all the rest. Now, we've only been talking about actual Games Workshop products. But there's so much more. Because, of course, there's Forge World. Oh my god, Forge World. Are you serious? You're going to make me jump through these... Okay, let's see if I can prove that I'm human. Which one has a bicycle? That one, that one, that one. Thanks a lot, Forge World, messing up my stream. That's not a bicycle. It looks like a bicycle on the water. Am I missing any bicycles? Did I do it? Okay. Whew. All right. Prove I am not a robot. Appropriate, right? We're talking about robot things. Okay. So these are knight parts and other kinds of knights that you can get on Forge World separately. So first off, we looked at the little knights, right? The little Armigers. So there's a new kind of Armiger called the Moirax that you can only create with these special parts from Forge World. So they have graviton pulsar weapons and conversion beams. So you can either buy those arms to stick on your Armigers that you've already bought, or you can buy a full kit, the Moirax kit from Forge World, that comes with these other weapons. There are also lightning locks, Volkite, Vuglares, and Gaiji's siege claws. It's just, if you want to be really cool and have more options, you got to pay a lot more and get it through Forge World. Typical. They've got some specific upgrade parts if you want to play certain houses. But then, as I was saying before, there are entirely new types of knights. And I want to look at them because they're pretty rad. You can also buy just like a whole bunch of knights together and spend a ton of money. Okay, so we've got a knight, Megara, and most of these are what Games Workshop likes to pretend in the world of Warhammer are old style knights, right? So these are knights that were around more in the Horus Heresy era, but some of them survived, but they are, again, it's that weird thing about how like old technology was better than current technology. So we can't really make these anymore, but still some people have them. And they do that in some kind of interesting ways. So you see this one has like this sort of like a more retro inspired carapace with all these layers, and then that head that looks more old timey. And it's got this like cool, really industrial looking claw to it. And you'll see these things are not cheap. So a standard knight from Games Workshop is about $150. These are $200 and up. So this will have some base parts from the regular knight kits and then a bunch of extra resin parts to go on top of it. And again, these things will have weird options and weird weapons and other related things to make them unique. And I'm not an expert on all of these things by any means, but I do like looking at the pretty pictures. So the Styrix here, again, you've got this weird looking head and this Volkite weapon. Volkite, they're essentially like heat rays. I think if I get my ancient Warhammer technology correct, there are a bunch of different ones. And there are a couple of Volkite weapons in standard 40K, but not a lot. It's one of the relatively lost technologies. All right, we've got, okay, so now, obviously this one has a much different style body. It's taller, it's thinner, it's a little bit more streamlined as a humanoid. So this is the Carastus general body, so it has much longer legs. And this is the Castigator version. So again, it's got one gun arm and one close combat weapon arm. The Carastus Knights are really interesting. And these things can make super, super dynamic poses. This one is kind of just standing there. But the way you build this thing, you have a lot of options for how you can pose it. And I've seen some really, really cool different versions. So here's the Carastus Acheron. Again, just different weapon options, different heads. Lots of cool stuff you can do with these. And you see we've bumped up another $100 to $300 per night in this case. Hey Erdinsk, welcome. No one's ever late, so you're just joining in. We're looking at Forge World nights. So we're getting to the expensive stuff. But again, these are all still knights. So they're about a foot tall, give or take. So now we've got a Carastus knight with 2 gun arms, but now we're mixing up again some really crazy ancient technology. Carastus Lancer, which has this like energy shield, and again, Warhammer people, they're gonna take this. It just looks like an outline of a shield, but they'll add cellophane and LED effects to make it look like a glowing energy shield. You can also see a little bit more detail on the legs here, how you can pose it in crazy positions. And then the last two. So here, exactly, Aaron. I would definitely say that you are a wizard, and you are never late. You are exactly on the time you want it to be. So this beefy monstrosity is the Acastus Knight Asterius. Again, we've bumped up $35 more to $500. No, wait, what was the last one? Anyway, we're at $535 for a knight. This thing has just the beefiest body. It's got that tiny little head in the middle, but I mean, look at these details. These weapon arms are crazy with all these power cables running everywhere, to the Volkites next to the head, the missile launcher popping up on top. I love the feet. It just looks like it could barely move. Yeah, it's got conversion beam, twin linked conversion beam, cannon arms, Karachnos mortar battery up on the top. These things are cool. So much detail. And there it is next to a standard knight. So it's essentially Titan scale, but it is technically a knight because you just have one person piloting it rather than a whole crew of pilots. Yeah, okay, I think, the last one's worth 300. So this is a lot. But it's not even the biggest one. So same price, but this one is just the craziest. So it's based on the same body as the Acastus, but the weapon arms on this thing are just absolutely ridiculous. And that launcher on the back. So this one technically has the Porphyrion is armed with a pair of autocannon, which are often replaced with las cannons, and it has an Iron Storm missile pod. Yeah, that's cool. I dig this one. If I was going to spend a ton of money on a knight, it would probably be this one. Again, $500 for a knight. Oof. That's a lot. It's cool, but that's a lot. Yeah, we did see one in down there in Texas. Now, if you're wondering about Chaos, so like I said, originally there was no. If you wanted a Chaos Knight, you had to convert one, or you could buy this ridiculous kit, which is temporarily out of stock. I don't know if they're going to bring it back. So essentially what this is it's the standard knight, which you can see in the gray plastic underneath, and then all of these, the lighter color grayish white, are resin parts to go over. So you're spending an additional $50 for relatively a handful of parts to go on top to convert your knight into a Chaos Knight. Brutal. Brutal. Thankfully now you can actually buy dedicated Chaos Knight kits for basically the same price, and it's plastic and it's easy to use, and you get a bunch of fun options. This one, it's just those parts and that's it. Yeah. Now, okay, so again, everything we've looked at so far are still technically knights. Let's bump it up and look at Titans. So there are typically 4 different Titans. Okay. So this is the smallest one, the Warhound or Scout Titan. And this is really cool. It's on the Forge World website. And this is the Titan Builder. So you load this thing up and you pick the style of Titan you want to look at up here. We'll go through all of them. And then you build it, and you'll see there are prices in here. And it's a lot. So the standard body of a Warhound Titan, and again, I'll go to the thing that'll show you the sizes, but essentially a Warhound is about that big. It's the smallest of the Titans because they get really big. But just the body of this thing, so no arms, just the body, is $525. And it says Warhound Titan. Warhound Titans are the eyes and ears of the Titan legions. Fast and agile, they perform dangerous reconnaissance missions and terror raids deep behind enemy lines. So in the books, often these are deployed in packs. So again, like it's the hound, like they're like hunting dogs. So you get a bunch of them, they run around. They're good for reconnaissance and sort of like guerrilla tactics against larger Titans, but they still have weapons that can annihilate half a city in a single shot. So in this cool little game here of Titan building, you can basically click on and put on different arm options and just see what they look like and how much it's going to cost you. Each arm has the same 4 options, and you can mix or match them depending on how you'd like to do it. Each arm is, $70? So so it's going to be $525 for the body, and then an additional $140 for the arms. Yeah, right, exactly. 20-meter high robots. Yeah, they sort of just run around. And yes, this one, it does look a lot like the Ed 29 from RoboCop. Yeah, this one's really cool. Now, I've heard a rumor. There's a rumor out there that somebody nearby in Southern California here might have one of these Titans that we might see on something upcoming. It's not me. I don't have one, but I heard there's one that might be in the area. This one's interesting because it's gone through a couple of design revisions. So a number of years ago, there was an older pattern, an older version of this knight, or this Titan rather, that they changed a lot of the mold for. The last one had more of a flat top to it. It was the Lucius pattern Warhound Titan, but you still see that one every so often, and it's really cool. Kill Team. So Undead Saints fan says, I found a team for Kill Team, Necron Warriors and Canoptic Scarabs for just under $50 for 15 figures. I mean, that certainly sounds good. And you can definitely, Necrons, I don't know the current meta, but when I was doing more Kill Team like a year and a half ago, Necrons in Kill Team are super annoying to play against. They have good guns, and their reanimation protocols in Kill Team are ridiculous. They're so hard to get rid of those dang things. Okay, so that's the Warhound. Let's get bigger. So this is the Reaver Titan. Obviously, we have a little bit more. So as they get bigger, the head sort of rises up. It still doesn't have exactly humanoid form because the head just sort of sticks out the front, but we're getting there. So Reaver says, a gargantuan war machine that carries the Omnissiah's wrath into battle, the Mars pattern Reaver Titan is one of the most common and destructive classes of battle Titan. So like I said, usually the Lucius pattern is the older version, and most modern things are the Mars pattern, but not always. That's just fluff. So it's just silly stuff. Yes, Necrons are a little bit slower. That is true. So the Reaver Titans are about yay big. So, like I said, we'll look at the actual pictures of them. But this is fun. The Reaver Titan body, just the body, so neither arms nor the weapon up on top, is $775. The missile launcher to go up on top, the Apocalypse missile launcher, is another $100, and each arm is $100. So if you're keeping track, we're looking at about $1,100 for one of these. And God forbid you want multiple arm options to magnetize and switch out depending on what game you're going to play. And it's getting up there. So we've got Gatling blasters, laser blasters, melta cannons, a power fist, and a volcano cannon. And again, like the stats on these things are just ridiculous. The amount of damage they do, the armor penetration, it's off the charts. At this size and scale, it's either, again, every turn it's annihilating something, or if you're going to play against it, you have to bring your own Titanic unit to survive. Oh yeah, you could spend hundreds of dollars just on the arm options. Yes, power fist. All the good timey power fists. Now, recently, Games Workshop added a new Titan, which, again, if you're keeping track, if these Titans are all supposed to be about 10 or more thousand years old, and we have novels and a bunch of fluff that's set in that time, how do you add a new one? Again, the lore changes. You can't get hung up on lore because it changes, and they can change it. So this thing is called the Warbringer Nemesis Titan. I got to admit, it looks a little funky. It kind of splits the difference between the Reaver that we just looked at and the Warlord, which is the biggest one. So essentially what this is it's size-wise, it's in between. Its arms are the same weapon arms that you get on the Reaver. But on this larger frame, they look a little dinky. But the point is it has this huge weapon up on top. So it says, like a god of destruction, the Warbringer Nemesis rains explosive death on the foes of the Imperium. Oh, and all of these things you can play Chaos versions as well. Because, why not? Now this one, just the body, $1,260. The gun on top. Oh, it does come with one of those guns on top, which is good because that's the whole point of this thing. So it has either a Nemesis Quake cannon or a volcano cannon, depending on what kind of damage you want to do. But now on these largest ones, you need to buy the head separate. The head will run you another $100. So there's a Warbringer Mars Alpha head or the Mars Delta head, which comes with some extra little doodads. And again, each arm will run you another $100. These are the same arms that are on the Reaver. So potentially, if you wanted to, quote unquote, save money, you could get a Reaver Titan and a Warbringer Titan and get a whole series of arms, magnetize it so you can swap out the arms in between them. We're still talking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars, but at least you'd have more more options. I know at this level it's silly, but hey, I mean, I've met people with these Titans. It would be a dream of mine to have one of them, but yeah. Okay, you've all been waiting for it. Let's go. The Warlord Titan, and yes, this is the model that is almost 3 feet tall, or 2.5 feet tall, thereabouts. It weighs 20 pounds. It's just massive chunks of resin. If you're a fan of Midwinter Minis, or if you know that YouTube channel, they're building one of these now currently as a project to do on their website or on their YouTube channel. It's insane. So it says, the colossal Warlord Titan is among the most ancient and feared of the Imperium's engines of war. Now, technically, within the lore, this is not the biggest Titan. So we could one day get the Imperator Titan, which is bigger. But this thing is essentially, it's a walking city. It has... yeah, no, exactly. It's... well, this is resin, so it's fancy plastic that could kill you if you drill into it too much. But yeah, these things are beautiful. I've seen a couple of these in person. They're amazing. There's so much space on them to paint and to decorate. There's really cool stuff you can do with it. So let's keep track here. The body is $1,500. Now again, compared to some of the other ones, that's not that big of an increase for a sizable model. But you need to add carapace weapons, so the guns way up on top, $170 for the Apocalypse missile launchers, or what is that? $185 for the laser blasters. And again, it's kind of hard to tell the scale, but the shoulder mounted laser blasters, they're like this long. They're huge. Now you do need to buy a head separately. Currently, there's only the one Mars Alpha pattern head. They've sold a bunch of variant heads for this thing. Some of them were like exclusives to different places, but the heads by themselves are they're like this big. They're huge. And then the arms are each about $140 to $150. So there's the Ariok Power Claw, the Bellicosa Volcano Cannon, Macro Gatling Blaster, Mori Quake Cannon, and the Sun Fury Plasma Annihilator. So we got cool stuff here. Technically, a lot of this stuff is out of stock right now. It's probably just COVID stuff. They'll bring all this back. Excuse me. But yeah, like I said, on the Midwinter Minis channel, they're building one of these. They got a bunch of the different parts. They the other day they built the Ariok Power Claw, and it's as big as the lady on their penny. It's as big as her hand. So that gives you a general sense of the weird scale of these things. Here, let's look at if we look at the individual listings, we can see more about their size in particular. Get some comparison shots. And yeah, as somebody noted, they do in fact sell these in packs. Or they used to. So you could buy the Legio Titanicus Titan Maniple for the low price of $5,000. And that would get you a Warlord, 2 Reavers, and 2 Warhounds. Just boom, $5,000, and you're ready to go. It's so stupid. So there. You don't get to choose all of your things, but it says like if you want specific things, let us know, and we'll help you out with that. No, you Undead Saints fan, you don't want to dive in for $5,000 for that. Let's see. So let's look at, I want to look at the individual listings because that'll give us some other cool pictures. And again, like you have to buy everything separate. So this is the listing for just the body for $1,500. Did they show us in scale? Oh, they show us in scale with another Titan. Oh yeah, and when you buy one of these things, it comes in. So you get a couple of these like fancy boxes, and then just a ton of other smaller boxes and things that are just wrapped in bags. It's so many pieces. They did an entire unboxing video of just like the crate that it all came in and just like trying to figure out what everything was. And it says over here, recommended for experienced modelers. That is for sure. Because on such a gigantic thing, not only is it resin, so you have to be really careful with how you have to clean everything. You have to be really careful about any sort of sanding or drilling you have to do. You have to have respirators. You have to do it in a ventilated area, all of that kind of stuff. You're going to have gaps. You have to, the parts are so big. You need special types of bonding epoxy to glue it together. So you need stuff like JB Weld. But then also some of the parts are super, super tiny. So it is a massive project to do one of these. Yeah, my next donation goal, it's going to be really, really long to start one of these. I mean, again, like it would be a fantasy of mine to do one of these things, but yeah, sure. We'll say one day. Do they have a comparison picture for these? No. Okay, I'll find one. They're amazing. They're definitely like a dream project to do once you've done all sorts of the regular stuff. But yeah, you could just start, buy the head, build the head, have that ready, buy an arm here and there. Right? You could go slow, build your way up to it. Now you might say, what about chaos versions? So yes, every single one of these things you can play as a chaos version, and not all of them do you have to do all the conversions yourself. So there is, for instance, there were, some of these are out of stock, but there is a Chaos Warhound, and this does come with unique parts that have like the Chaos Star textured into it, and like this cool scaly bit on the head here. And then it just uses the regular arms. Oh, and then some spikes on the top. So these are cool. Some skulls. Oh, that's cool. Like the undead crew inside. And yes, there are interiors to some of these models. That's neat. Like they've been devoured by the machine. So yeah, for these Titans, it depends on, there are different styles of them even within the lore, but some of them are more sort of taken over by demonic energies and demonic creatures, and some of them are still piloted by humans. But yeah, some of them are like this, and whatever is left of the people inside, they're not doing so well. Yeah, oh man, not only to play with these things, but to transport them. So it's highly recommended to do magnets, so you can take off the parts that stick out really far, like the arms and the shoulder mounted guns, so you can attempt to put them away in a case. Yeah, so there's a Titanicus novel, and there, like I said, there have been a couple of novels in the Horus Heresy series that focus on battles between these Titans, and they're really good. They're really fun to read. Gives you lots of information about how these things work, the people inside, and how, yeah, and sort of all the things they do. There's a really cool thing that each one of these has. They have essentially like horns on the outside, so they'll make all these annoying sounds. And again, this is Warhammer, so every machine has its own spirit to it. A machine spirit, literally. And the machine spirits of the Titans are very angry, always looking to fight, to get in there, and especially to kill other Titans. When one Titan kills another one, it's referred to as an engine kill, and like the machine spirits get very excited about that. So there's a specific Chaos version of the Warhound. There is a Chaos version of the Reaver. So again, oh, look at that! Look at how angry that knee pad is. Can we get a focus on that knee pad? Oh, it's not the closest one it's going to give, but that is a very angry knee. Articulated fingers on a lot of the claws on these, so you could do them in different. You can have them sort of hanging slack, because the arm is mostly just going to be down at its side, or you can have them, more curled in like this. Oh, there's that angry knee, the angriest knee in all of Warhammer. Oh, it is so angry. And again, you can see like all the wear and tear on this thing. So it's cool, these Chaos versions, if you wanted to just, get it already chaosified and not have to do all the converting yourself. There's no Chaos version of the War Bringer, the one with the big gun on top. That one it's too new. They're like, nah, you just gotta do it yourself. And then the biggest one, the Warlord itself, there's no Chaos version of that one either. You just gotta convert it on your own. It's up to you. Yeah, let's do a quick Google search. Warlord Titan. see what other people have done with theirs. Okay, so that's a pretty good picture. Open image in new tab. That's what I want. All right. So there is. So these legs are to the the knight that's down at the bottom here. So that gives you some sense of how big how big these ridiculous things are. Big, beefy models. That's in comparison with Titanicus. Okay, this one's pretty good too. So yeah, you see at the bottom. At the very bottom there, way down here is a standard size Space Marine compared to this thing. And you can build them in slightly different poses. You can't do a ton of crazy posing on these Titans, only because you don't want them to fall over. People do insane amounts of like freehand painting on these things. So you'll see these, like, especially these shoulder pads, just with like entire landscape paintings and characters and faces and all sorts of unique stuff. It's wild. These really give you a massive canvas onto which you can just do anything. Airbrush, definitely recommended for things that are this big. Otherwise, it's cool. Painting one of these by hand is going to take forever. Yeah, I don't know. Are these on? I don't know if these are on tabletop. I would imagine. Yes, Eridans. These things can can stomp on smaller units for sure. So yeah, when we went to Texas for the grand opening of the Warhammer Citadel down there, one of the first people we talked to in line to get in was a guy who proudly let us know that he had just hit 40K into 40K. So he had spent $40,000 in total in his 40K, including a couple of these. I think he was there to pick up another one. Bonkers. Oh yeah, and the yeah. Then you get the people who even take this a step further and add lights and sound mechanisms inside, because why not if you're at that level. But yeah, as I think somebody said earlier, there are definitely people out there. If you're at the level where you can afford these things, you're also likely at a place in your life where you also don't have the time to do these things yourself. So I've definitely seen a not insignificant number of people who buy these things and just have the kits shipped directly to somebody who is going to build and paint them for you and then give it to you as a finished product. Yeah. It's a reference to minimum buy, of course. Yeah, eventually if you're into this hobby, you'll hit that 40K in 40K. So that's, yeah, like I was talking about last time with that picture of the bathtub full of all of these Titan parts. Because yeah, it's, again, if you have the money to spend, to drop $2,500 on one model, you might be a busy working person, a wage slave or something, but you might as well just go a little bit further at that level to have somebody build and paint it for you. The biggest Titans do come with like a fancy certificate of ownership, so there's that at least, and it's all in universe. The Adeptus Mechanicus recognizes you as the bearer of this Warlord Titan. It's silly, it's super goofy, but it's, yeah, at $40,000 that would be good. Yeah, and that's true. Rabid Wombat. Yeah, they have Games Workshop organizes what are they called? Titan walks, something like that, where they encourage people, if you have a Titan, come into the store, and they they have everybody line theirs up and they take pictures and they go all out with that stuff. Which is, I mean, hey, look, it's it's definitely rarefied air to be in that club where you have one of these things and you've painted it and done the whole thing. Now, I will say that everything we've been looking at are Chaos and Loyalist Titans. But that's not all there is. There are Titanic units for other stuff as well. For instance, the Tyranids have this... It's interesting, but unfortunately, I think this model is so ugly. I cannot get over how ugly this model is. So this is the Hierophant Bio Titan. And you see it's only $440, but it is huge. It has this really weird body shape. It's got this nasty head way down at the bottom with these guns. It's interesting. It's just... it's not for me. Excuse me. And here you can see in comparison to two little dudes. And it's also, honestly, in the scale, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big. Honestly, I think the what's the big flyer that the Tyranids have, the Forge World flyer? I think that might be, well, it definitely has a bigger wingspan. Yeah, this thing, I don't know. It's just really weird. I've seen people do some cool stuff with these as far as paint, but I don't know. I don't dig it. Like I said, there is a... Where's that other big Tyranid thing? Oh, the Harridan. Yeah, so a friend of mine has the Harridan. We used it on Hyper before, but yeah, this thing is massive. It especially with the wings on, it's huge. That's a cool model, and you can attach these little baby Tyranids onto its belly because it can kind of like, it can carry them into battle. So I think this is a cooler model, frankly. It's only $440. The friend of mine who has it, I don't know if it's authentic or not. There are ways of buying some of these models that are a little bit cheaper. They come from strange places sometimes. We'll leave it at that. The Eldar have their own versions of Titans. And these also get pretty crazy. There are a few different versions, different sizes. But yeah, there is a Phantom Titan. So this is very clearly an Eldar war creation. But this thing is gigantic. And again, like with these, especially with these thin limbs, these are super posable. Let me look up real quick because I've seen just some absolutely amazing versions of these things. Let's see some images. Because you can pose these things running, kicking. He's got his, or this person has theirs flying. And I mean, these are beautiful models. Oh, why is it so small? Why are these images so crappy? But yeah, these are cool. And again, you can see in this picture, these are freaking huge. Yeah, fell off it's right. Somewhere, somehow, if you have the means, theoretically you could copy any model as long as you had the parts and you had the capabilities of somehow like making a new version of a cast, like almost as though you were recasting something. It's been known to happen. So those are technically the other Titans. But yes, the Necrons have some giant things. There are other gigantic things for other armies, including the Orcs too. The Orcs have, not only do they have Stompas, but they have, oh, Come on, why didn't you remember my view all setting? I always want to view all. Always. Give me one long page of all the things. So there's the Orc Gargantuan Squigoth. I've never seen one of these in person. Or was there one in Texas? But it's a giant lizard that the orcs have put a battle fortress on the back of. Because of course they would. Ooh, an RC Titan. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, and again, there are also third-party companies that make their own versions of some of these things. So you're not directly ripping off Games Workshop by buying a recast. It's their own different version of it. So again, it's sort of ripping off the IP, but it's not the same model. Just different versions of things. And yes, as we said, the Necrons have, these websites are so clunky sometimes. The Pylon, which is so cool. And then of course there's the new Serap Tech, which I tried to get Lucas to buy one. This thing is freaking cool. I love the way this thing has these crazy legs. But this thing is also huge. It's a big model. But yeah, the Pylon, which is no longer available. Oh, beautiful. Lucas has got to paint this thing one day. I definitely urge him to use this as much as possible. It's so good. Talk about something that can just, well, if you roll well, it should be able to kill something each time it fires, but rolling over there at Hyper is always erratic, especially with people paying for rerolls and things like that. Yeah, this I'm not a huge fan of Necrons overall, but some of their stuff speaks to me, and this one definitely does. Yeah, this is a unit, and again, it's huge. It's only $175 because there's not that much. Like it's very relatively slim, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah, so that's some background. It's definitely, yeah, it is a unit. So background, and again, some more information so you know what I'm talking about and what we're doing with my knight build. I know it's just a puny knight compared to all the crazy titans we've been looking at, but like I said, I'm very excited about my knight that I'm building. It will be allied with my Emperor's Children, so I have options here for parts and for eventual painting that are going to reference, sonic weaponry, noise, music, ideals of perfection. So this one, because a lot of times you get into that trap with chaos units where you want everything to be, yep, okay, see ya, we'll see you tonight for trivia. A lot of chaos stuff ends up being like really overly done, like overwrought, right? Everything has to be cut up and battle damaged and skulls everywhere and chains and hooks and like it's so much. But on the other hand, when you are dealing with things more with the Emperor's Children and stuff, you can definitely go a different direction, right? Because the Emperor's Children were, and to some extent are still, about like striving for perfection. And so there's definitely a way that you can do your modeling in more of a clean, attempted, sophisticated look, which not everybody does, but it's a possibility. Can a knight be used with Necrons? Not technically, no. But in the world of converting, you potentially. Is that Warhammer in general? Yeah, definitely in general. But again, looking at something like this with where a lot of the armor, I don't need the pylon in here anymore. It's just me. So some people would look at this and say like, oh my god, to convert this to convert something like this to chaos, look at all those smooth armor panels, all of the work I'd have to do to scar up all of those things, and all of the skulls I would need, and the chains. But I'm like, if this is going to be some sort of a renegade knight house that's more about striving for perfection and all those that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily need to go that way. I can have some smooth lines and painted some really bright colors and things like that. But again, this is just the very, very beginning. This is going to be a long and cool project, and I am very excited. I have ideas. Like I said, I'm going to raid my son's project table out in the garage because he's got a lot of electronic bits and baubles, and I'm going to look for things that look like they could be sonic weapons or speakers and that kind of effect. I definitely want to look at some things like that. So yeah. Excuse me. Tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific, PDT. We're all about the D now. Emma Fife channel. Home Buddies Trivia Night. It's going to be a big one. Yeah, exactly. Tony Chris, and I already told him he's excited. He's excited to tear apart things, to look for pieces to give to me. So he's fully on board. I mean, hey, you clip whatever you want. But yes, tonight is trivia night. It is going to be crazy. Trivia night always is, especially after last time. I don't think the teams have been fully announced yet. I know as of a couple of hours ago, there were still some open slots. I don't know for which team. So if you have yet to sign up and want to get involved, go to the Discord, go to the bar trivia channel. There's a link to a Google form that Emma has. Nightbot, you with me here? No, I guess not. Okay. Yeah, and if you can't be there, obviously, then that's fine. And then I hope you have a good time doing whatever else you're doing. But there were spots. Is it not going to give me the Discord link? Nightbot, come on, man. What are you doing? But no, it's just not. Okay. Wait, is that not the right? Wait, is it this one? Ah, there we go. I did the wrong one. First try, everybody. First try. Yes. So in the Discord, which I'm sure you're already a member of, like I said, there's a bar trivia room. Hit the link. Go there to Emma. Important to note that on that sign-up form, you rank the home buddies in who you want to be on which team. We never see those things. Only Emma sees those. I will never know if you rank me last. It's totally fine. You do you. And if you have been on my team, but you want to be on somebody else's team, that's awesome. So no hard feelings on any of that. And again, we never ever see any of that information. It is completely private, just for Emma's eyes, in case you were wondering. And everybody who wants to play, who does not get on a Home Buddies team, you play in team chat. Team chat always has a great time and does very well. So yeah, that's tonight, 7 p.m. on Emma's channel. I don't know who's streaming afterwards tonight. I don't know if anybody's signed up for that, so then it might be Andy or Janelle, but somebody will be streaming afterwards. If you missed it when I streamed after my turn last month, okay, yes, Andy, cool. Thanks, Janelle. I posted a link in the Discord in the show and tell room to an unlisted YouTube video of me, reading the limericks last time. So you can go and check that out if you. Again, major content warnings on that. Every kind of content warning there is. Sex, violence. I mean, body horror. You name it. It was in those limericks. So let's all be adults with that. But that is up there if you want to catch up on that. And yeah, I'll probably do that again at some point. Let's see. Is anybody else streaming right now that I can read with you fine people? I'm gonna go get a little bit of work done before we get ready. Oh, Emma is still looking for a few. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, sex and violence. Yeah, it's more than just. It was more than just sex and violence in that one. Yeah. Oh, and there were plenty of limericks though that I skipped. That I would look at it on the page and I'm like, oh my god, no, I'm not reading that. Wherever this is going out on Twitch or later on YouTube, I don't want to get caught up in the terms of service. And also just things that I didn't want to actually say out loud. There were plenty of those. If you really want to know, I can type those out somewhere. Man, that last one. I know Arsenal Roy asked if I could write that out. I haven't. I could, but still thinking about it. Gross. Some of those. Let's see who is online. Okay, we're gonna raid somebody who we've raided before. The Red Katana channel. They're bonkers. They're always having a super crazy fun time. They've got the chicken. I can't explain it any more than that. They're Warhammer people. They're artistic people. I don't know that much more about them other than what I've seen on a couple of our raiding streams, but they seem really, really interesting every time we've done it. So we will be raiding them. And no, not a live chicken, a rubber chicken. But good question. Very, very good question. So I hope to see all of you who can make it tonight for Home Buddies group bar trivia. Otherwise, I will be back on Monday continuing to read the Aeneid. I know lately we haven't had a ton of people who are able to pop in on Monday, which is totally understandable, but I'm still having a great time. I love reading and talking about the Aeneid. Like I said, it's one of my favorite epic poems. Lots and lots to talk about. And yeah, next week will be just normal streaming stuff. So, a chicken that, yeah, I mean, that's true. It is a chicken that is live on screen, but not a live chicken on stream. Something like that. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Okay. Thanks everybody for hanging out today. This was super fun. I know lots of you were just listening and looking at the pretty pictures, which is great. Make sure, if you don't already, follow Zardoz. That guy is just a content machine. He talks about miniature games, role-playing games. He dabbles in video games, just like any kind of games there are. He knows about it, he writes about it, he talks about it. He's a really, really cool resource. Also, just for writing and yeah, I mean, he's a really cool guy. He's somebody who I've met through Hyper and everything, and I'm glad to know him. Super cool. You can follow him on all the things. He's in the Discord, so catch him there just like everything else. Okay, we're gonna raid. I'm gonna go do some family stuff, and I'll be back for trivia tonight. So goodbye, everybody.